And a massive drug crackdown. Channel 7's MG Perez reports on the largest operation of its kind in San Mateo County history.
It's hard to miss the law enforcement action on the streets of East Palo Alto. FBI agents are working with local police officers and San Mateo County Sheriff's deputies to bust drug dealers. The crime-fighting group has 80 arrest warrants and 6 warrants to search houses and apartments for illegal drugs. With the coalition of help, federal agents want to sweep up the sale of crack cocaine and heroin and put gang dealers out of business.
We're trying, and nobody has found the mix yet, and this is an effort to put together that prototype or the package that will successfully address the gang violence.
Usually, FBI agents are involved in the illegal international drug trade. But last January, the U.S. Attorney General decided neighborhood drug crimes are just as much a priority. This sweep is part of something called the Safe Streets Initiative. There are more than 100 officers helping in the East Palo Alto drug sweep. This small peninsula city has had 32 murders so far this year, compared to 22 during all of last year. Police say drugs are at the root of it.
There's definitely an obvious connection between the number of homicides in our city and the narcotic sales. Narcotics are very consistent with violence.
The dope is going to be out here no matter what. They can do what they want to do.
Drugs are so common here, some residents aren't impressed by this show of force. But federal agents have left an impression with at least 50 suspected dealers on their way to jail. In East Palo Alto, MG Perez, Channel 7 News.
Gun.
Yep.
They fight over petty stuff. They might fight because this man dressed better than that man. This man might got more than this man.
If we had some jobs or something, we wouldn't be on the streets, you know, try to get some jobs for us and maybe things would be all right.
But things aren't all right in North Richmond. Over the weekend, police say 17-year-old Celis Wilson was shot and killed during a drive-by shooting. Alan Hicks and his 16-year-old son Jermaine were both wounded by gunfire in a separate drive-by shooting on 3rd and Grove Streets.
There was some people laying down saying, help, help, we're hurt. Typical day. Sometimes they come, they go, they play, they fight, they come in fast speeding with their cars, shooting. It's really hard sometimes.
We have rearranged deployment of manpower so that we've got more units out on the street, specifically in some of these targeted zones that have this increase in violence.
And this increase in violence has hit too close to home for Lloyd Madden. He's president of the NAACP's Richmond branch. His cousins were injured in the drive-by shooting on 3rd and Grove Streets. Ironically, Madden's been working on ways to stop gang violence in Richmond. He's not surprised about what happened to his cousins.
The number of individuals who are seeking other kinds of constructive and positive things to do in the community, and they're non-existent, this is what it reaps.
Now, community members here will hold a task force meeting in Richmond. Police agencies in Contra Costa County here in Richmond, the Ministers Alliance, the NAACP, among others, will be there. Everyone is saying that this problem is getting out of hand, and they're trying to do something about it. Incidentally, Contra Costa County isn't the only community trying to do something about it. Tonight, officials in Berkeley held a meeting to try to lay the groundwork for a plan to do something about it. So everyone is concerned, and it seems as though everyone is doing something about it. Reporting live in Richmond, I'm Cheryl Hurd. Back to you, Hank.
All right, Cheryl, thank you. Mac?
A neighborhood in central San Jose has won a round in its fight against gangs. The Rock Springs neighborhood won a court battle today and issued a lawsuit that prevents alleged gang members from publicly associating with one another while in that area. Tony Rusomano is in San Jose with details. Tony.
Dave, San Jose police are now free to arrest a certain few people in the Rock Springs neighborhood for merely associating with one another. It's the result of a lawsuit filed by the city that appears to have reversed the neighborhood's descent into drugs, robberies, and murder. They say that paper can't stop a bullet, but paper, in this case in the form of the city's lawsuit, does seem to be having a positive effect. This doesn't look like a neighborhood under siege by criminal gangs. Kids play openly in the streets. Neighbors visit casually in front yards. But San Jose police say Rock Springs harbored, until recently, a nest of gang members who had turned these streets into a drug supermarket. The mayor says a lawsuit blocking alleged gang members from being seen together in the neighborhood has made the streets a lot safer.
When you have a court order telling people that they can't gather and continue their
activities that have really terrorized that neighborhood, that you have sent a message to them that that kind of activity is not acceptable.
This morning, a judge ruled the police can continue to arrest certain people just for being outside in a group. One of the 11 alleged gang members targeted by the police says the ruling violates his constitutional rights.
We don't have the right to do whatever we want. We don't have the right to hang around with their friends and just be together.
Miguel Moreno lives in Rock Springs. His attorney was among a group of civil libertarians challenging the city's order.
He would be afraid to walk the streets in that neighborhood, not for fear of crime, but for fear of being harassed by the police. And we also have clients who are a couple of brothers who would be prevented from talking to each other in public in that neighborhood, and we think that's outrageous.
Neighborhood residents are happy Rock Springs is a safer place today, but some think the city's approach to gangs is wrong.
Instead of judging these kids by the way they dress or what gang members they belong to, they should try and help them, get them more education, jobs, and get to know them.
The civil libertarian groups have not yet decided whether they're going to appeal today's decision. The city has no plans to use this type of enforcement in any other neighborhood right now, but the mayor's not ruling it out. Dave and Hank?
Thank you.
So in Santa Clara County, a major new effort is underway to help kids out of gangs. Police estimate there are almost 10,000 gang members in the county. Channel 7's MG Perez reports.
This isn't just any neighborhood game room. Most of these young people are South Bay gang members, or they're trying to avoid that life. This is their new hangout. It's the beginning of a San Jose youth center designed to get kids off the street. Pastor Sonny Lara says it will work with donations and faith. He's dedicated 8 years to saving gang members.
But I wanted to show the city that you can do it with people that really care. They talk about budget cuts and no money, and well, if there's no money, how did this center came about? It came about because people that care.
It's hard to know exact numbers, but San Jose police estimate there are about 80 organized gangs across Santa Clara County, and they're not concentrated in one area. Their graffiti and crime are everywhere. Just yesterday afternoon, a stray bullet shot into the county's Girl Scout headquarters building. The Girl Scouts were not the target. Police say the building and the workers inside just got caught in the middle of a gang-related shooting. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Martin Dominguez and Hector Rangel are former gang members just out of juvenile hall. They can't even tell you why they got involved in crime at such an early age.
I don't know why, I just did.
You gonna get back into it?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. I'm gonna stay out now because it's just trouble.
I guess it's just the neighborhood that I grew up in, and it's the friends that I hung around with since I was little or got into it, so just like a normal thing.
Both boys now hope video games and pool become a normal thing. In San Jose, MG Perez, Channel 7 News.
Britt for an answer. Mark.
Pam, perhaps a more troubling thing about this entire story is that a lot of people here don't seem to be shocked about all of these crimes. It's become generally accepted that some parts of Richmond are very dangerous. That does not mean that a lot of folks aren't trying to do something about it, but number one, they're battling a high crime area. They're also battling limited police presence, for example.
Truman.
For all the shootings, stabbings, and other violent crimes which happen in and around Richmond, Officer Gary Gifford has to take time out for a routine traffic stop.
Relax. Relax, you're under arrest, okay? You're under arrest for driving on suspended license. Relax.
The officer says he suspects the man swallowed evidence. The man begins resisting and backup is called. Since a limited budget means only one officer rides in a patrol car.
Set it up. Okay. Get his arms behind his back.
When help arrives, the driver is arrested, and Officer Gifford continues his patrol, trying to stomp out drugs and crime in North Richmond.
Hey, you do what you can do. You respond when you're called. You investigate the best you can, even if you don't get any cooperation from the citizens.
Since Friday, a wave of shootings and stabbings left 20 victims in the communities of Richmond, El Sobrante, and San Pablo. Richmond NAACP Chief Lloyd Madden has been working to unite leaders from the community, gangs, and police. Now he has more motivation. 2 of the weekend victims were his relatives.
We're going to develop a program for the long term that requires and demands citizen participation.
We get
we give equal.
Like Madden, there are other good people trying to better this community. At schools, counselors try to steer kids away from gangs. This is sometimes a challenge. Teenager, gang member, and gunshot victim Arturo Duenas.
You got to realize that, you know, when you first get into a gang, you have to know that you have to know that you're going to get hurt.
Trying to reach the young people. Pam, a community meeting is scheduled for tomorrow. It is a meeting that was scheduled, ironically, long before this past weekend.
All right, Mark, thank you for that report tonight.
Let's go to Santa Clara County now, if we can. It's suffering a similar gang problem. Law enforcement and community groups are trying different ways to solve those problems. A Gilroy anti-gang weapon, videotape. Citizens urged to record potential crime, send the tape to police. In San Jose, in the Foursquare area of Rock Springs, 11 gang members were slapped with restraining orders to stay away. Civil liberties lawyers tried unsuccessfully today to convince a judge a gang member's freedom of association was being violated.
Leslie, another Bay Area community is also demanding action.
Residents in Southwest Berkeley met with the mayor tonight, and they unleashed a barrage of criticism over the city's efforts to combat crime. The police were accused of being slow to respond or not responding at all, and politicians were slammed for making empty promises, wasting money on unnecessary programs, and generally being out of touch with reality.
In the city of Berkeley, we've got a lot of people who are in city government, some of whom are on the council, who have a lot of social theories, but they don't seem to understand what's happening in our neighborhood.
Give us the things that we are asking for, not the things that we don't want. We're tired of being the guinea pigs for your social programs.
Berkeley residents are demanding increased policing and an anti-loitering ordinance. In the South Bay, the Gilroy police chief is asking citizens to help them catch criminals in the act. But what he's asking them to do could put innocent people in the line of fire. Channel 7's Anna Garcia has the details.
The video camera is the latest weapon in the fight against crime in Gilroy. Police Chief Roy Sumisaki is asking residents to pick up their camcorders and shoot when they see a crime being committed.
Using camcorders as readily available as they are today, they would be a tremendous force multiplier for our department.
Gilroy, known mostly for its garlic, has another distinction. It has the highest crime rate in Santa Clara County with a growing gang problem. The unemployment rate is over 20%. There are 32,000 residents and 44 cops patrolling the streets. Most residents we spoke with this evening think it's a good idea to use camcorders to catch criminals, but not everyone would be willing to get involved.
They would be afraid to do it because, you know, that's something they got to risk, and people are got to be willing to come forward, you know, too. It's up to the individual themselves.
You got to stick up for yourself, you know. You're just going to let things go by. They'll just make it worse for you.
Police say video watchdogs should use common sense and not put themselves in the middle of a dangerous situation. But some attorneys caution that asking citizens to do police work is asking for trouble.
If people don't know what they're doing, that they may end up breaking a law, and they may be the ones that end up being prosecuted.
Police say the risk of that happening is minimal. They worry more about what could happen if citizens don't get more involved in crime fighting. In Gilroy,
the streets of East Palo Alto are a little safer than they've been in a while. Today, police announced that they've arrested nearly 100 people in a special crime sweep. The arrests were all made over the last 2 months during a sweep called Operation Trident. Most of the suspects were taken in for outstanding warrants. Police say they targeted repeat offenders, and they're hoping to cut down on the wave of violent crime.
Arrest people and put them in jail who have a propensity for violent crime. They're not available to do that anymore. And mom and dad and their kids can walk down the street without having to worry about some thug coming out and hitting them.
Federal marshals also conducted Operation Trident in cities across the country, arresting nearly 6,000 fugitives. In the words of one marshal, quote, "We got the cream of the crud."
Federal and state investigators say they have broken up a major international drug smuggling ring. Agents seized 7,000 pounds of cocaine and more than $3 million in raids in Southern California and Arizona. 22 people are under arrest. Officials say the drugs were smuggled in from Bolivia on trucks carrying floor tile.
New Orleans braces for the onslaught of Hurricane Andrew and then the latest on the storm's path of devastation.